I know I'm standing between you guys and Ice Cream Social, so I promise I will make sure this ends on time. How's everybody doing? You guys enjoying the conference so far? I'm Erin Pearson. I'm a data director engineering with D3Clarity. Presentation today is on D3Clarity's Revolutionary Governance Playbook. In this session, we'll cover how both D3Clarity and our playbook will help organizations navigate through what this landscape is of data governance. All right, so the fact that you guys are here at this conference, it's fair to say you guys have an interest in governance, presumably an understanding that governance is a complicated topic, sometimes frustrating as well. And if you've tried to set up a governance program, you know that it's quite an endeavor. It's a lot of effort, requires a lot of careful planning. You need to make sure you've got the right mix of people, technology, and processes involved. Most of the time you end up with more questions than you have answers to. Questions such as, where do I start with this thing? How do I know when I'm done? How the heck do I get help if I need it? How do I know if what I implemented is actually correct? And then how do you even measure what good is to know how you're doing? Right? Sound familiar? We get these questions all the time on every engagement we're with. Over time, you start to see similar patterns and approaches emerge, and you learn what techniques work best for what scenarios. So with this, we created to document these approaches and document what we've learned. We created a playbook. The playbook is based in Agile and Scrum principles, Six Sigma principles. We utilize the SMART, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, timely objectives as a way to capture metrics and KPIs. Now, just to set expectations, why we do consult on what is data governance, why is it important for helping businesses deliver value, today's presentation is purely on the how. How do you build an agile, flexible data governance program? If you're interested in the what and the why, please make sure you attend Dave Wilkinson's Demystifying Data Governance session tomorrow morning. Now, our playbook is broken into 4 phases. First, you have understand. You want to understand or inventory what your existing landscape looks like. You can't really move forward until you know what you have to start with. And by landscape, it's not just technology, right? It's culture, processes, data. Then you want to define where you want your end state. What is that end vision that you have? And that vision needs to be bold. And it needs to reflect the impact that having better data would make on your organization. How would having better data increase your top line growth? How would having better data expand your bottom line? How would better data reduce your exposure to risk, right? It needs to be bold. Once you know what you have and where you want to go, you want to establish the framework, right? That's all about getting enterprise definitions, terms, recruiting individuals to participate in your program. Or to steal one of the lines from yesterday, you want to seduce others into your group. And you want to establish the operating model. Finally, then, you want to execute, which is all about delivering on projects. Projects is how we are delivering business value. That's our end state of where we want to go. Each phase has their own associated activity, suggested cycle, and expected deliverable. We have examples of SMART objectives in each phase to help define some measurements to understand how your data is getting better. Now, there's a reason why it's called a playbook. It's not a definitive list of one size fits all, but rather a collection of approaches, guides, examples of how to build a data governance program. It's a playbook. It's not a project plan. To kind of help further explain this, I like to use a football analogy. And that's American football, not soccer for kind of our European friends. And specifically NFL, right? So you have football coaches are highly sought after for their expertise. Their expertise is recorded in a form of a playbook that has plays or options that they use per given scenario, right? That playbook is based on their experience, running through different schemes that they have gone against in the past and learned from. Well, D3Clarity's expertise is in governance consulting and coaching. As a coach, we created a playbook based on our experience from helping out numerous different clients across many different industries on various different governance initiatives. So our playbook has a set of plays to help organizations create or improve their governance program. Now, you don't really want to run every single play in the playbook to get to the end or deliver on benefits. The goal is you want to do just enough to get to that next step or that next set of downs, right? The goal is to keep moving forward. We provide the right play for the right movement. That final movement is really about executing on projects. Projects is where you're having your measurements. That's where you deliver business value. That's where you want to go. A project should be tangible, measurable, and the actions should support your vision. A project can be small or large. We're agile, so a small project could be document in Excel all the definitions I have of a customer in my organization. You're not solving it, you're just documenting all the ones that you have. The next project to move you forward can be putting that into place to get a definitive definition. Can have big projects. I want to establish a consistent unit of measure in my product catalog. Or I want to implement an account roll-up or hierarchy in order to align on sales territories. It can be big or small, but it's really the projects that's moving you forward, and that's how you measure your success or your business value. Make sense? Our whole playbook is based on the premise that organizations do not have the time it takes to get everything perfect before you commit on deliverables, right? You don't have the time to make sure all of your policies and procedures are documented, making sure you have a complete roadmap, making sure you know what data ownership are and getting alignment on those data ownerships. You want to do just enough to keep moving you forward. So putting our playbook into practice provides you a repeatable process to follow. Now, as you've got that repeatable process, and once you've defined your enterprise vision, you want to be executing at all times. You want a continuous cycle. The reasons why you want to do that is A, you want to keep the momentum going because you don't want to lose anything from what you've got. If you just keep doing on projects, you're getting business value, you're recruiting members, you're getting that momentum going. B, our playbook is based in agile concepts. So you want to fail fast on anything that's not going to work. Maybe the culture in your organization is just not ready for this particular change right now. That's okay. But you'd rather know that sooner rather than later than keep investing on an initiative that's just not going to work for you guys. And then C, governance doesn't happen overnight. You guys know that. It doesn't happen with the implementation of one project or even the introduction of one tool. It's a program that builds on itself and is iterative and evolves over time. Make sense? For every governance program you have a strategic intent and a tactical outcome. These phases work in parallel and it's in a continuous cycle. You've got your tactical outcome, which is a project. It feeds into your strategy, but your strategy is always going to be bigger than one project. So you've got a continuous circle here that's going. Now, even if you planned out everything correctly and you've got this harmonious continuous cycle going, you're always going to have what we call random acts of digital. New projects are always going to come into play. It could be as a byproduct from a previous project that you implemented, or maybe a business area that's gone a little rogue. I'm sure you guys all have those special individuals or superstars that tend to go off and do things on their own because it's the right thing for their business unit. If it makes things better, let them do it. For example, maybe you have a shadow IT group that wants to implement something that's not exactly fit for purpose per the strategy that's defined, but it will help streamline decisions and ownership. If it makes things better, let them do it. 2020 was a perfect example of COVID, right? Organizations overnight had to pivot and implement these random acts of digitals because I'm sure none of that was on their roadmap. So you shouldn't deny those random acts coming in. Embrace and encourage those random acts of digital. However, embrace them in a style that improves your overall project management, right? Because if you get those requests, they're going to end up as a project. You learn from projects. Your projects influence your strategy. Those new improved strategy then goes down to the next project, and you keep that continuous cycle going over and over. As you continue to iterate, your program will continue to evolve. As it continues to evolve, it will increase your maturity level. As your maturity level increases, the focus starts to shift, becoming more rigid in the deliverables, which adds to the overall effectiveness of your program. So you want to be doing continuous execution and iteration to lead to improvements. Now, as a good coach, we continuously review all of our plays against the wins from which they were executed from. We looked at all of our projects, and those that had data governance programs benefit or had a win in the terms of having enterprise definitions, enabling new capabilities, because either they really understood the data they had, or even they now know what the data they didn't have, but need it. And then they made that information useful by delivering it through BI, right? So they kept that going. Now, and those are core benefits. Every organization we worked in, though, wants to deliver more on that. So what we did as an exercise is we took a sampling of all of our data projects and mapped them out against the benefits that were achieved against the industries from which they were derived. Which what we found out is that most of the projects we've had kind of classifies into these 6 major categories. So if I look at the categories, we've got value to the end customer. There is value in knowing what I sold, who I sold it to, and how it was sold, right? That value to the customer. We have one client that delivers benefits to both current and retired state employees. Those benefits are medical, money, insurance, right? The integrity of that data has to be trustworthy. The value to their end customer is timely and accurate payments. Having data governance and a management system gave them that value to the customer. E-commerce. We tend to see this manifest in a number of different ways. We've seen it come up with self-service, whether it's self-service for internal employees or external entities. We've also seen this come up quite a bit is when you start implementing processes, approvals, workflows, then the descriptions, your product descriptions on your online catalog tend to get a little better because it's kind of embarrassing when you're advertising a product that you no longer sell anymore. So you need to have those processes in place. M&A, classic, benefits we've seen there, mainly around optimization and integration. If you know how your data flows, then it's much easier to have integrations that support the way your business works versus trying to force an integration into a certain pattern. Supplier onboarding. We've had numerous examples of this. Most recently, we were working with a construction company. They don't only manufacture their own brand, but they also buy and sell other brands to their end consumers or to their job sites. So kind of think of a Home Depot or Lowe's if you guys have those. In looking at their processes, what we discovered is that really they wanted to do one supplier onboarding process for the whole organization. They actually needed 2. They needed a supplier onboarding process to support the way they buy and those vendors versus the sell side. They could not keep enforcing both processes to use the same onboarding process if they wanted to continue and get the benefits they needed. So it's really kind of flipping it on its head and splitting it out. Worked with another customer. It's a large oil and gas company. If you're familiar with oil and gas, they have lots of vendors in there. You've got different vendors helping with downstream, upstream, plant maintenance, monitoring production and performance. There's a lot of vendors connected in there. So working with them for their supplier onboarding process, it was discovered that even after their suppliers got onboarded, there really was no formal process of certifying how their connections were made into that oil and gas company. You know, those random acts of digitals just kind of came out at another project. It's needed. It makes the business better. They embraced it. Regulatory and compliance. We've seen this from your standards, GDPR, data privacy, all of that, to even sales compliance. We've had a customer that these sales teams kind of circumvented kind of the sales process to get paid on commission. That's an internal sales compliance. With data governance, that can help you police that and put compliance controls around that. We've had you've had certain materials that go into products. Well, you can't sell certain materials to several different countries, right? Between export and import. Putting governance in, we've seen wins help with making that compliance tighter. If you know what data elements your business needs to be supported, then you know what areas need for improvement to guarantee tighter compliance versus kind of having that loosely defined compliance. Another category we just call the ultimate product sales and substitution. So that's great if you, right, from a sales standpoint, I sell this person this amount of product. Great. If you don't capture how and track how that customer is using it, you might be missing out on some eligibility or entitlement opportunities. Working with one customer, they supply education products and services to a state school. So it's the tablets, the erasers, the pencils, right? The products, but also services such as asbestos inspections, different types of services they have. They sell it in bundles of, let's just say 5. So if I sold District XYZ a package of 5 asbestos inspections, great, but I need to track how they're using it. If they're only used 4, then that's a proactive customer sat I can help them with to say, hey, you paid for all of this. You need to, here's one more I can help you with. If they've used 6, that's an upsell opportunity. If you're not tracking that, you're missing that upsell and then the cross-sell opportunities. So every win that we have seen has come from organizations getting the information they wanted out of the data they had. How they did it was in the projects that they were delivered on. All right, so I told you what we have, where it's been used, and who's used it. Now let me tell you a little bit about who we are. We are D3Clarity. We are a data and cloud professional services company. We've been in this space for quite a while. We've got a seasoned staff behind everything we do. Our experience is grounded in many successful projects across various different organizations, from small, medium businesses to Fortune 500s, across all kinds of industries, from nonprofit, state and local government, retail, finance, utilities. We've got a gamut of them. Our team is equally strong in both delivery and strategy. We find this is pretty unique, as most consulting companies tend to specialize in one or the other. You might be an expert at business transformation, but not in practical delivery. You might be really good at executing and delivering on requirements, but what happens if your client's data doesn't support those requirements? We think you need both in order to ensure that you've got something that is both practical for delivery at an affordable cost, because let's face it, cost is a barrier to everything we do. You also want to ensure that the end-to-end solution is viable and can be adopted by the uniqueness of every individual's culture. Lots of organizations have similar use cases. Every organization has a unique culture, and you have to understand how that's going to play into everything you do. Our specialties include both data and cloud engineering, covers both the process side of data from management to governance, as well as providing an infrastructure to host, secure, and protect that data. Now, the question I know that you guys are all wishing to ask, how do I get that playbook? Well, you get it through an engagement with us. So we've packaged up our playbook experience into 4 separate offerings. We've selected these 4 offerings because they seem most consumable by the customers we've had. So we've got a jump start. It's geared for customers that are just wanting to get started on their journey. We'll go through a series of workshops, map out the data challenges, put those data challenges into benefits, and create a roadmap of how you can execute to get started on your journey. We've got a refinement package. So maybe you've already started a governance program, but may have lost your way a little bit on the journey and need help getting back on track. We'll go through, review your current program, what your outcomes were, what your structures, how was things communicated, and put together a plan for you to re-engage and hopefully improve upon that program. We have a readiness assessment. It's really geared towards establishing a maturity level. Our maturity assessment is really measured across 4 key pillars: technology landscape, business process, culture, and finance. So we'll go through a series of interviews and self-assessments, provide a score, and then map out where improvements can be found based on what we've seen happen at other clients. And then we have our longer-term engagements. Those are really targeted at first for assisting with enterprise governance, but you can be leveraged to help augment any governance initiative. So we've had clients that wanted a governance analyst for a period of time to help augment their team as they worked on a roadmap issue. Happy to go into any of these if you want more details on them after the session. We are flexible in delivery. We can deliver stack augmentation, ad hoc, or outcome focus, and we can customize any offering to any length of time. So not a problem. All right, so now that we want to wrap up, I want to go back and use the repeatable process that we learned about and start from the questions that we started with. So where do I start? Well, D3 Clarity, of course. So we have 4 consumable offerings that can help you with any governance initiative you want. All right, how do I know when I'm done? Well, it's governance you're really never done. Your program continues to evolve over time, but you can put different metrics and measurements in place to keep track of that. How do I get help? D3 Clarity again. So for DGIQ attendees, we are offering a complimentary one-on-one session with our governance experts. You can scan the QR code and get registered at the time and date that's best for you guys. You can also, there's 6 badged individuals. They can get you registered or come by our booth. And I think you also have the QR code on your chair as well. So register, we'll get you hooked up to have any. If you're having any questions or anything like that, we can definitely have a one-on-one when you get back to your home. How do you know if what you implemented is correct or what the path that you put forward is going to work? Well, if you have a repeatable process, then you can measure all your projects against time. And then you know what good could be. So as a wrap up, just want to let you know that we are hosting a drawing for a Yeti cooler. You may have gotten a postcard when you walked in. Now, do you have any more postcards? Or there's postcards up here. Please register for the Yeti. It's here. We will ship it to your home or place of business directly from here after the sessions. Drawings will be held on at the end of on Thursday mornings, and we'll let you know via email or phone call if you've won. Please stop by our booth and you can register there. We've got about 5 more minutes, and I know I'm between you guys and ice cream, but I do want to introduce Dave Wilkinson, who's one of our co-founders and CTOs, and will be presenting tomorrow morning. So I'll open it up if you've got any questions for either one of us.
This slide ago, you had something that we were talking about with compliance. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You were talking about compliance and how something that you did with compliance and making sure that businesses were not getting. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. So we've had several wins in terms of regulatory compliance, right? So if you got your GDPR, Prop 65, those kind of stuff, but then also on the sales compliance side, is that what you were talking about?
Yes.
So we're working with a customer and they had some set rules on, right? If you sell this, then your salespeople get this commission. Well, they sell the product and it's a product catalog with units and measures. The sales team has kind of figured out ways to go around that because, right, if you're looking at retail and you're trying to define data management or data governance, a lot of the issues happen at the point of sale, right? If you're sitting there at the counter and you got a person in front of you, you don't want to take the time to fill out all the addresses and all that. You're there to make sell. Let's put in Mickey Mouse or whatever and get going. That's no different from what they saw. So their customers, they were taught that the sales team could add a new line item and sell whatever they needed to at the package. They make that product, but in terms of how they sold it, then it caused inventory problems. It caused delivery problems because was it a package of 1 or a package of 2? How did they happen? But the salespeople got paid on it. So once they were going through and looking at their data and seeing all these problems, they're like, okay, this is an internal compliance issue that we really need to fix with our own team. Does that answer your question?
So you found that they were losing lots of money.
Mm-hmm.
Salespeople were, we'll just say, cheating.
Circumventing, yes. Yes.
Being creative, yes.
Yes, yes. And they were quite frankly allowed to, right? So it was just part of it. But once you find that out and then you start, and they kind of knew it was happening, but they never really put metrics in place to capture and say, how big of a problem is this? Yes.
It's the measurement at the business level first, and then the tracking of the data.
All right. Anything else? Yes.
At what point in your different plans would somebody who already did a data management maturity assessment, how would you come in and talk about that?
So if you're having problems now, we can certainly take a look at where do you think your problems are. Or if you just want an extra outside counsel just to look at it, we absolutely can probably customize one of our maturity models and maybe slim it down depending on what your needs are.
Yeah, we've already done the DMF.
Okay.
So now it's just kind of the next step, and that's kind of figuring where that would end up in your path.
So what we would do is look at the maturity model that we've done, start looking at the dimensions of that maturity model, right? What direction do you want to go and grow? And what is the priority for your business at those dimensions? And then which project is going to cause you to move in any one of those dimensions? And then reassess and remeasure once you get into that project. So very much based on what is the dimension, what is the shape of your current maturity, and then how do you want to change that shape over time, and what projects would, to Aaron's point, is you define doing just enough to execute the project. It's the project that delivers the value. Which project is going to move this needle, right? And then repeat.
All right, so I know we're at time and I know ice cream is out there for you guys. So thank you very much. We'll be around afterwards or visit our booth.
D3Clarity delivers profitability multipliers through better data and digital infrastructure. For more information, contact D3Clarity at d3clarity.com.